I'm Rib Hillis, and you're listening to Rocking at the Movies with Shane Comley-White.
Would you ever see yourselves coming to South Africa, for example, to do some kind of a fight scene in the South African?
I'd love to come down there. I've had opportunities that never panned out through sort of my modeling career,
Okay.
And acting career. And every time I get the opportunity, someone says, "Oh, you might get a chance to go to South Africa." I'm like, "Done, no problem. I'd love to."
Well, if you do, just let me know.
South Africa, I think it's called Full Circle.
Yeah.
A modeling agent down there.
Yep, I've heard of it. Yeah.
Is that right? The name Full Circle? Does that make sense?
I can double check for you. To be honest, I haven't dealt with the modeling agencies for quite some time, so but very possible. But if you do, please let me know, because I know that I'm going to be asking this and with a bit of a hope, but if we could be part of any movie that you could shoot out here one day, that would be like a privilege and an honor as well.
I promise you, if we make it down there, you'll be the first person that I call.
Please do. I'll hold you to that. I've got your details. So yeah,
it's called Full Circle in Cape Town.
In Cape Town, yeah. Okay. No, that would be great if you could. It would be quite a privilege to have you here as well. One day. No pressure though. No pressure. But we try to get as many people as we can to come to South Africa, just to allow us here to experience what it's like to have the international actors, you know. So we're getting Duncan MacLeod. I don't know if you know the Highlander series. Yeah, he's coming out here. He's going to teach us sword and all that kind of stuff for about a month. And
cool.
if all goes well with the COVID thing, but it's definitely something I'd like to do, just to also share experiences and also a little bit of motivation to us here in South Africa that there are opportunities elsewhere. So yeah,
well, there's a lot of great movies that come out of down there over the years. There are a lot of independent movies, but I'm trying to think of some of the ones. It's escaping me right now. Some of the ones that I've seen,
like Black Sails was filmed here. I don't know if you ever saw it.
The Black Sails is a TV series.
Yeah, it's a pirate based TV series. It was done by now his name's escaping me as well. The guy that did The Rock, the producer that did The Rock and all of that, Michael Bay.
Oh wow!
It was done by him. So yeah, he came to South Africa.
I did a commercial or a music video for Aerosmith with Michael Bay.
Oh really?
Way back in the day. Yeah.
Which one?
It was called "Love Is Hard on Your Knees."
I've seen that.
And I was in this giant round cage that looks like a bird cage.
Yeah.
That was quite big, that was hanging from the ceiling. And and they wanted a cage to drop to the ground. And Michael and somebody was like, "Well, yeah, but how Rib's in there, we don't." He goes, "Doesn't matter, just drop the cage." And I was like,
he loves his action.
Yeah. So we dropped the cage and over and over, and it smashed to the ground.
Jeez.
Yeah,
that must have been an experience as well. You know, did you meet Aerosmith?
No, Aerosmith was not there. But obviously I met Michael, and but yeah, it was fun. It was when the beginning of my career when I moved to Los Angeles, so it was kind of a fun time. There was a lot of crazy stuff going on.
Well, that's only way to start mingling and meeting people and hopefully getting a lot of exposure, you know?
Yeah.
And then, so we've spoken about your most memorable movie or memorable role that you've played in. What is the most memorable movie that you've done that stands out, or even any production or project that you've been in that actually stands out most in your career?
Well, we talked about it already, but Extreme Makeover Home Edition, although it's a reality genre and it's home improvement, I would say that definitely stands out because of what we did, and that we really, really built houses for people that needed them. That was an amazing experience. That one was pretty incredible. Hunted obviously was a big one that that I produced and I was involved in. Let's see some of the other ones that are kind of memorable. One is so I done a bunch of sci-fi movies as well.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if you look at my resume, it seems like a spoof resume because it says like versus, like Dino Croc versus Super Gator, Piranha versus Sharktopus, cowboys versus dinosaurs. And I look at it and it makes me chuckle. But I guess the first one, let's say it was Dino Croc versus Super Gator. And we shot that in Hawaii with Jim Wynorski, and it was for Roger Corman. I'm trying to think if that was the first one that I did. I think that was. And it was the movie that made me decide that I wanted to make movies, because we were out in Hawaii, and I'd already been acting. I'd worked on television shows and done other things, but we were in Hawaii, and it was the director, a cameraman, and a sound guy, and that's it. And I think there was like one like PA or something, but he was often running around. So as the actor, I was like setting up the craft service table or whatever, because nobody, it had to be done. And it was just this real fun sort of like, let's go get this done.
Yeah.
Obviously it was not a huge production. It wasn't a big, sci-fi movies are, it was a great production. It was a great production value, but it wasn't like a blockbuster movie. And it was really fun. I remember just running like, I want to do this. I want to make movies. And that's kind of, that was my impetus. I credit Jim Wynorski for giving me the impetus to want to start making movies.
Yeah.
And that,
Okay. Interesting. So there's always something that kind of pulls you into to launch your career, or actually tie you into what you want to do, just to solidify it in a way. So, which is quite interesting. And then just briefly, if you don't mind, there's a movie that's quite relevant in the name, at least. We spoke about it off the recording itself, which is called 2020. Obviously, it's got a different name, or it was meant to be a different name. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, if you don't mind?
Yeah, 2020. Let me just double check. I think that's the movie that I would refer to as Shockwave.
Yes.
I'm just gonna. Is that what you're seeing? Is it listed?
Yeah, I'm also looking at it now. It's Shockwave: Countdown to Disaster.
So that movie, actually, I produced it, and I was the lead, and I helped sort of develop it. And that one was pretty fun because it was like a disaster movie, and it's about these scientists that are making a seismic wave weapon, and gets stolen by some terrorists. And we had incredible action sequence where this team of Navy SEALs, and the guy who is now one of my good friends, who's a retired SEAL, he was also one of the producers, and he acted in it. So he had all his real Navy SEAL buddies that were all retired come out and play in the movie. So we had this incredible like action sequence that looked amazing. And that was a lot of fun. We shot that, I guess it was back in 2017, and it was released as called Shockwave. I played a scientist in that, which was kind of fun, a geologist. And yeah, we had a lot of fun. We shot it right here in Southern California.
Interesting.
I broke my ribs in the first day, the first take, in the first scene, the first take. This is interesting. You'll appreciate this. Fights and stunts. There's this explosion. It comes right up in my face, and I'm supposed to get blasted up in the air and fly back. And I did not do it correctly. I ended up going up in the air, and I should have landed on my back, flat on my back, and just taken the blow right across, and it would have dispersed the blow. I ended up landing on my side, and my right arm was underneath my body.
It's correct.
And
straight away.
I didn't think much of it. I jumped, I landed, and I tried to sell it as much as I could. So I launched myself pretty high. I landed, and I got up, and I was like, oh, I'm a little sore. Well, as the day went on, I was in quite a lot of pain. And that night, I woke up and I couldn't breathe. And so I Googled it, and then I Googled what broken ribs were about. And I was like, oh man, I don't know. I think I might have broken my ribs. And I remember if I were to sneeze, it would put me to the floor with tears coming out of my eyes. Like it was so incredibly painful, but I'm one of the producers on it. I'm leading the movie. It's the first day, and we have a 2.5-3 week shoot. So I was like, fuck it, I'll be fine. I took a lot of ibuprofen. I ended up wrapping it with an ace bandage, even though they say that you're not necessarily supposed to with broken ribs, but I didn't know they were broken. I didn't get it checked. So I go through production, and it was an action movie, running, chasing. There's a fight scene. The guy and I get in a fight, and he knees me in the ribs. There's this part where I run into my daughter, like we get separated, and she runs into me and she comes into my arms, and you can see my face. When I'm going to hug her, I'm like grimacing at the pain because just bumping into her. So production ends, and I was like, all right, what I did is I dislocated my back. I tweaked my back doing jujitsu before and found, okay, probably just tweak some of the ribs, right? So I go to my chiropractor and he says, well, we got an x-ray machine. I'll take an x-ray. And I'll never forget, I'm across the room and he's got the x-ray up on the wall. And I'm laughing thinking, I probably didn't break him, but if I did, at least I would know that I'm not just a total wussy, that I just was bruised. And I go, holy shit. The ribs were supposed to be like this. They were broken and completely over. Like it was not even close. And I'd been walking around like that for 3 weeks. And that's 2020, otherwise known as Shockwave. And if you watch that movie, the scene where I run into my daughter and run into her arms and you see me grimace. That's because,
It's not the pain of missing your daughter, it's the pain of actually being hurt.
I don't think I'd ever broken a rib before. That was pretty intense.
Yeah. Broken chest cavity is one of the worst things ever. It impacts everything.
If I had to sneeze, that was it was the worst. I would literally fall to the ground in pain. And as soon as I found out that my ribs were broken, I adopted a strict protocol of sitting by the pool and drinking rum punch, and it really helped quite a bit.
Of course it did. Numb the pain a little bit, which is a good thing.
Couldn't do that while I was working, so.
No, as long as you had some time off to do that, then that's more than fine.